When I was thinking about the cinemas recently that were in Leith when I was growing up, it occurred to me, but there weren't just cinemas. There was a theatre as well. There was the Gaiety, which was in the Kirkgate. This is a picture of the old Kirkgate. And if you look, you will see one building has a sign on it which says, "For sale." That is the Gaiety building. Now, in those days, a well-known Scottish comedian would come along with a group of people who were singers, dancers, perhaps conjurers, who knows what, and some people who would assist him in sketches. And they had a different programme every week. I think they were probably around for about 10 weeks at a time, say, and then they would move up to the Palladium, up at Toll Cross, and then go through to the west, to Glasgow and, I don't know, other places. And then eventually come back to the Gaiety again with, of course, a whole new set of material. One man in particular was a well-known comedian, Leith McLean, and he was my father's favourite. So when my father found out that he was in town, of course we had to go every week. Lex is in the Gaiety, Lex is in the Gaiety, we must go, we must go. So of course my mother and I went along with my father. I didn't really understand a lot of the jokes, so I think they were, well, I'm pretty sure they were quite, yes, risque, shall we say, because Leith McLean was known as Sexy Lexi. From the way the people were laughing, including my mother and father, I guessed that his material was a bit. He eventually got a series on television, but unfortunately my father was dead by then. He would have been thrilled to bits to know that Lex made it to television. But of course when we heard that, my mother said immediately, well, you'll have to clean up his material. And of course in those days, it's not like nowadays you can say absolutely anything on the television, but in those days you couldn't. So sure enough, he was still quite funny, but he had definitely cleaned up his act a bit. One of his sketches involved him coming on wearing a huge fur coat, an enormous long fur coat, which I was told my uncle's aunt, who was a fan of Lex's, had given him. And each time this fur coat appeared, I was always told, that's Auntie so-and-so's, or was Auntie so-and-so's fur coat. Sometimes he would do a straight piece where he was meant to be a shepherd, and he would bring on his dog, which is a black and white collie, I think called Glenn. One Sunday, my father and I were walking our dog on Leith Links, and my father said, "There's Lex, I'm going to talk to him." And sure enough, we did go across and talk to him, and compared notes, of course, about our two dogs. Didn't ask for his autograph, though, we slipped up there. But anyway, my father did say how much we'd enjoyed his show, and Lex did seem quite pleased about that. I think he died a few years after my father, actually, so I don't think he was terribly old when he died. Now, he also did straight plays, because sometimes my father would say, "Oh, Lex is doing a play this week," and my mother decided that no, she wasn't going and she wasn't going to take me. But my father, of course, went on his own, because no matter what Leith McLean did, he had to be there, he had to see it. When he came back, he told me it was a play about Burke and Hare, in which one of the people is what would have been called simple in those days, you know, somebody who was just not too bright. And Burke and Hare think, well, nobody's going to miss him, so they murder him. And Leith McLean played that part. And according to my father, of course, he played the part very well. But then, as I say, my father thought anything and everything that Lex did was wonderful. Now, there was a singer who sang songs, Frank Sinatra songs. He was called Larry Davis, and of course I thought he was the bee's knees and the cat's pyjamas. My cousin and I were in the Kirkgate one day and we saw him obviously going down to rehearsals, and we thought, oh wow, we were as excited as if we'd actually seen Frank Sinatra. Oh wow, there's Larry Davis. But we didn't go across and ask for his autograph, so another chance missed. I've no idea what happened to him after the Gaiety closed, but I guess he was from the west of Scotland, so I guess he probably found some employment through there. Now,